What's the smallest thing known to man?
How can it travel faster than the speed of light?
I think I know this one.
Do you know why physicists make protons crash? Do you know how the World Wide Web began?
I know this one.
Why is there a research lab in the middle of the prairie?
And where we find the answers?
At Fermi Lab!
So grab your backpacks. We're going on a
field
Pack up, juice pack, put them in your backpack. Yippee-ki, yippee, yippee, yip. Don't be slow, we're ready to go. We're leaving on a field trip. There's so much to discover, so much to do and see. Who knows what we'll uncover? And I'm waiting patiently. We'll take a hike, we'll ride a bike, we'll dig for dinosaurs. We'll sing a song, so come along. It's time to go explore. Our world is a tiny little planet in a huge universe. We can see that it's made up of rock, dirt, water. But where did it all come from? How did it all begin?
This is Fermi Lab in Batavia, Illinois, where physicists are doing experiments to help answer those questions.
What's a physicist?
A physicist is someone who studies the basic material that makes up the universe.
Hi, welcome to Fermi Lab. I'm Priscilla Meldrum and I'm the docent coordinator here at Fermi Lab.
What is Fermi Lab?
Fermi Lab is a place where we study the basic building blocks of nature.
To find out how something is formed, you have to break it down into smaller pieces. Hey, I think I'm onto something here. Onto the laboratory!
That's a big accelerator. Do you know what an accelerator is?
Yeah, it speeds things up. Oh, yeah.
It speeds things up,
And in this
and
case, I think it's protons.
in this case it's protons. And do you have any idea why we speed up protons and get them going real fast?
Because so you can then I forget what happens, but they kind of split up and make other things.
So you take this big accelerator that's like a hammer and you smash what you want to know what it is, then by taking it apart you can figure out what the smallest little things are.
Quarks are the smallest particles known to man. Dr. Rocky Kolb tells us how quarks are one of the ingredients in the recipe for the whole universe.
So what we're trying to do is to try to understand where galaxies and stars and everything we see in the universe comes from. And what we think where everything came from was from the primordial soup of the Big Bang.
What's the Big Bang?
The Big Bang is something that happened 14 billion years ago, and it describes where everything we see in the universe comes from.
Oh, that's the same thing as a big kablooey.
What exactly is in the primordial soup?
What is in the primordial soup are the elementary particles that we produce here at Fermi Lab, things like quarks and electrons and particles of electromagnetic radiation that we call photons. It's only made here at Fermi Lab, where we collide things together at very high energy and create the conditions that were present in the primordial soup. And if we understand the fundamental interactions between particles and what the fundamental ingredients were, then perhaps we can understand today where the universe comes from.
Now, what exactly is in there? Is it really primordial soup?
There's a little list of ingredients. There's quarks, electrons, neutrinos, other types of particles. Other strange particles that we haven't yet discovered called Higgs bosons.
He said bosons, not bison.
Can you read the directions to make primordial soup?
Heat ingredients to
3 gazillion degrees.
stirring occasionally if you wish. They're allowed to cool for 14 billion years. This product will become the atoms that make up your known universe.
There we go. It's all here in the soup.
Microscopes magnify small objects so we can study and examine their structure. But some objects are so small that we need bigger scientific tools. The primary tools at Fermi Lab are accelerators. The most powerful one in the world is the Tevatron. It's a big 4-mile circle, 20 feet underground. Inside, protons and antiprotons crash to create smaller particles for research and study.
The protons get started as a puff of gas in this machine. They are pushed even faster in the linear accelerator, called the LINAC, then even faster in the booster.
As the proton leaves the Cockcroft-Walton and goes into the LINAC, it gets boosts of energy as it goes along. And that's exactly what you're going to do to this ball. As the ball enters this tunnel, one of these tubes of air will push the ball this way. This tube is going to push the ball that way. So when do you want this ball to enter the tunnel? Do you know, Jason, when you push the start button?
I pushed this when it was pushing it this way, because by the time this came to this, it was pushing it that way.
Good thinking, and that's exactly what the people in LINAC have to do.
After speeding up even more in the main ring, the protons are transferred to the tevatron and are now traveling almost at the speed of light.
What's the speed of light?
186,000 miles per second.
This is the accelerator where we accelerate the beam. What these are big magnets that bend the protons in a circle. It turns out to get them going real fast, we kick them with a radio frequency field or radio wave. By the time we accelerate a particle all the way and send it out to the areas, it's traveled over 7 million miles in this tube.
The beam of protons has the power of 800 billion volts, which equals 300 calories, or 1 jelly donut.
What is acceleration?
Making it go faster. Like go faster. Making something.
Okay. What do your parents use all the time that has an accelerator?
A car.
Okay, I need somebody to look down in that hole and see if there's a ball. Let's just look and see what happens with the ball going down. Just let it go.
It goes faster.
Who thinks that they can run faster than this ball?
Ready, set, go.
1, 2, 3. Who beat? You guys discovered that there were 3 balls in there. What's going to happen to these 3 balls?
It's
How come that one's heavier?
Because you can feel them and so.
So you think it's going to go faster? What about with the tennis balls lighter? I would think light things would go really fast.
Heavier because gravity pulls down.
Put the balls in there in the order that you think was the fastest one first. And let's see what happens.
Gravity affects everything the same way. The reason why that happens is because a heavier object would have a stronger pull, but it also takes a stronger pull to make it go faster. If you can remove all those extraneous effects like friction or air resistance, then you'd see the tennis ball and cue ball and the orange ball all go at the same rate.
So if you look down there, you see red magnets. Now those are superconducting magnets. We can get a very high magnetic field in these magnets without any resistance.
Okay, so the protons and the antiprotons are traveling at light speed in opposite directions. Uh-oh. Opposite directions at light speed. Oh no, they're gonna crash!
Field trip will be right back after these messages.
We now return to field trip.
Okay, now I want you all to look that way, and then I want you to turn and look behind you and look that way. And the ring is right below you. It's about 40 feet below you right now.
While the protons are circling in the tevatron underground, Maurice Ball tells us what's happening on the surface.
See all this water over here? We have a whole lot of water, and we pump that water into the ground, and we cool the ring, and we cool the particles. However, the water inside of the ring is a special kind of water. It's called low conductivity water. It's called ultra pure. Very, very, very clean. And it's clean because we don't want any dirty water getting into those magnets and contaminating the particles.
How can you cool the ultra pure water without getting the dirty pond water, making the ultra-pure water unpure?
That is an excellent question, and that's exactly what I do. I, as an engineer, have to determine the best way to cool warm water without mixing the two together. We use this piece of equipment called a heat exchanger, and what it is you have one water that goes into this equipment, and you have the other water going into it, but there's a piece of metal in between the two waters, and you can transfer heat, but the waters don't touch each other. And so that's how we do that. Come on, I want to show you something else. This is what I wanted to show you. You see this long blue pipe here? Okay, you remember we used the liquid helium to cool those magnets? Remember that liquid helium is like really, really, really cold. It's like negative 400 degrees Fahrenheit. The liquid helium is so cold that it makes the pipe cold. And so you know how you have a glass of water, and if the glass of water is cold, then you get little droplets condensing on the outside of it? Well, this is the same thing.
The protons are gonna crash. I didn't do it. I didn't touch anything. I'm gonna tell somebody.
When the protons are flowing inside that long tube around the ring, they have to flow in a vacuum because we don't want any resistance. We want the protons just flowing freely and smoothly. It's a windy day today, so let's demonstrate what it's like when the protons are flowing first with no friction. So let's run with the wind. All right, ready? Go! I want us to run against the wind so that you can understand what protons have to go through if there's a lot of friction involved. So are you ready? Ready, go! Oh God, it's hard!
The protons! They're about to collide!
It's okay, they're supposed to collide!
This is CDF. That stands for Collider Detector at Fermi Lab. It's a crash site for the protons.
This is the detector where we measure the particles that come out of collisions from the protons and antiprotons. If you look down in the center there, that's the beam pipe that the protons and the antiprotons go through. The protons go through from this direction, and the antiprotons come towards us and collide right in the center of this big thing.
The detector is made up of different layers to help physicists capture all sorts of information on how the particles act.
So the big copper-colored stuff in there, that's what we call our tracking chamber. It's a bunch of wires in a gas, and as the particles from the collision, like protons and antiprotons, come out, they ionize the gas. That means they knock little electrons off. And that makes a signal on the wires in this chamber. And from that signal, we can make a little path that tells us where the particles went in that big volume.
The collisions happen faster than you can blink your eye, so scientists need hundreds of computers to store and analyze data and information.
The data makes a portrait of the collision. A little game of particle pool helps us understand tracking.
All right, at Fermi Lab, we have two kinds of collisions. One, we collide an antiproton with a proton, like this. The other way we do it is we pretend that we hit a brick wall or a target. It's called a fixed target. To make this more interesting and to show that these balls leave trails, we have set up a camera right up there. Look what happens when I roll this ball down. Can you see the path it leaves? Let's see what kind the white ball leaves. Why does the white ball leave such a much bigger trail?
It's lighter and it vibrates.
It's lighter. So this detector is detecting the movement of light. Let's let Elizabeth try with another ball. Okay, Sam, what's going to happen by putting the steel ball in the front?
That was just going to stay there because I'm so heavy on me. Otherwise, I think it'll still kind of hit, but not as hard. We said it.
Let's
We said it.
set the vibration and then it's going to go out.
Well, that's a good prediction. Let's see what happens. Okay, Elizabeth. Were your predictions right?
Yes.
Terrific. And that is exactly what scientists do here. They make a prediction, then they set up an experiment and see if their prediction was right.
Field Trip will be right back after these messages. We now return to Field Trip.
In addition to many discoveries in particle physics, Fermilab has made major contributions in the world of computers.
Today we're going to publish some pages on the internet.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the internet is?
Well, it's just like a big web that you can connect with other people.
Uh-huh. And what kind of things would you do?
You can send emails or short messages, or you can go to places called chat rooms, and you can just communicate with other people through the computer.
That's good. Now at Fermilab, we've used the internet for a very long time. And Fermilab has used the World Wide Web, which is a part of the internet, for a while too. The World Wide Web was developed at a sister laboratory of Fermilab, a high energy physics lab. So we're very proud of that. And today it's appropriate that you should be publishing on the World Wide Web because it started at Fermilab. The Fermilab physicists use it when they're collaborating, when they have other physicists who are in Europe and in China and Japan, all over the world that they work with. And in order to communicate with them, they put information on the web. When people want information about Fermilab, they can come to our site and get information. And among those things, pretty soon they're going to be able to see the information about your field trip, which will be interesting to kids all over the world. Laura's going to show us some of the things that you might want to look at on the web. Just some examples.
Okay, the first one is the web page from the Fermilab Education Center. So people all over the world can see this. This is your field trip page. It has pictures of each of you, and when a person clicks on it, it will take them to the page that you're going to write today.
Throughout our field trip, we took pictures of the things we enjoyed most about Fermilab. When we finish writing about the things we saw, you'll be able to read all about it on the World Wide Web.
I took this picture of this person because I thought he was one of the most interesting people that I got to meet. I chose this picture because it is a demonstration of how they track particles. I took this picture of the race for energy because I just love it.
We also talked about primordial soup.
The people behind me are the camera crew. I am at Fermilab because we are broadcasting a TV program called Field Trip.
The project I was doing was picking seeds off a sunflower. This was a real blast.
Okay, accelerators, collision detectors, buffalo. Buffalo? What did buffalo have to do with research at Fermilab?
Fermilab is also a national environmental research park where students and scientists study our natural world. Long before Fermilab was ever built, this is rich open prairie where buffalo roam. Fermilab is committed to restoring it.
What we're trying to do is to recreate the original landscape of Illinois, something that the Native Americans would have seen 200 years ago. Fermilab has decided to increase the quality of the natural habitat for birds and animals and other things by restoring the prairie. It's kind of neat that in some places the stream of protons going around the accelerator at almost the speed of light are within just a few meters of a nice, calm, outdoor reconstruction project of the original landscape of Illinois. You might think that those two things, the physics system and the prairie systems, are very different, but in one way they're kind of similar. The physics system, which requires scientists and space-age technology and machinery and buildings and computers and all that stuff, is one big physics system to allow the scientists to do their studies. And it's kind of the same in nature. We have dozens of kinds of plants. We have soils. We have many kinds of insects, many kinds of animals that all make up one big system that we call an ecosystem. So everything lives and works together, just like in the physics program. All those different parts work together to allow the physics studies to be done.
Why did they burn prairie grass?
They burned prairie grass because the plants that lived in this area were used to fires. They had lived with fires for thousands of years, and they had adapted so that they grew well with fire. The settlers, when they came to this country, brought with them plants from Europe and Asia that were not used to fire. So when we burn, that discourages the non-native plants, and it encourages the native plants.
We wanted to do our part to help with the restoration. Mike showed us how to harvest seeds that could be used to plant other prairies.
So what you should do is clip it like that, being very careful not to, and then stuff it in the bag. And each one of those little black things is a seed. In the wintertime, we'll take and clean these seeds, and we'll use them to start new prairie areas next year. The tallest grass is usually this one, which is big blue stem. This is called tall coreopsis. This is one we need too. When you cut them, try and cut it close to the top of the head if you can. These are airborne ones. They to spread themselves, they rely on the wind. Take this one and break it up, and then smell it. It smells almost like the mint in gum, like spearmint.
The prairie, the plants, and nearby lakes and streams have created a natural habitat for birds and animals.
They feel like this is a place they can call home. They don't have to worry about other populations disturbing them.
Guys, we're missing Sam.
Where'd he go?
Where did he go? Oh, you know, this is exactly what happens in nature. The animals can hide so easily out here in this tall grass prairie. I think we better go find Sam. What do you see, Sam?
His hood.
Because it's white. Sam, take your hood off for a minute. Is he as easy to see now?
No.
That's how the animals blend in this high, tall grass prairie, just like that. And that's how they can hide from their predators. Okay, Sam, you can come out now. Thank you.
Just think, if the neutrons, protons, quarks, and leptons are the building blocks of all matter, without them, there'd be no me, no you, no home where the buffalo roam.
Field trip will be right back after these messages.
We now return to field trip.
You know, physics is the most basic of the sciences, and the work done here at Fermi Lab and places like it all over the world have led to discoveries that have helped us understand the world and have actually changed the world.
Do you know that our physicists feel like they're Ben Franklin's out flying a kite? When Ben Franklin first flew his kite, and everybody thought he was crazy. Well, we now know that he was crazy because he could have got electrocuted. But in those days, people thought that he was absolutely crazy because who would ever use electricity? And we know better, don't we? Well, the physicists here are getting that basic research on the fundamental building blocks of nature. And how this is going to be applied in everyday life is up to your generation. This generation is collecting the data. It is you kids that will decide how to use that information.
Things that we think are weird and strange, perhaps in the future will one day just believe to be obvious fact.
Basic research is something that doesn't have a clear product involved that comes out, but it's a curiosity-driven, and you never know what you're going to discover.
We need young people like you to help us and learn more about physics and science. We want to understand why does this happen, and you all can help us do that.
We're not making cars or something, but we're making something that might help long down the road to make better cars or something like that.
If our Fermi Lab field trip has you all charged up about physics and the environment, there are some books you might like to read. Exploring Energy, Atoms, Molecules, and Quarks by Melvin Berger, and Seasons of the Tallgrass Prairie by Carol Lerner. And you can visit Fermilab on the World Wide Web at www.ed.fnal.gov.
Let DK Publishing take you on the adventure of a lifetime. Wonderful books, videos, and CD-ROMs reveal marvels and mysteries. For quality and fun, look to DK Publishing.
Well, I'm gonna make like an atom and split. See you next time on Field Trip.